In 1954, Marian Keyes got the message from another planet called Clarion. On December 21, your world will end in catastrophic flood. Marian Keyes and her 30 faithful followers panicked at the news. But later, Marian Keyes received another message that told them they would be rescued. A spaceship will carry off the believers to their planets at exactly midnight of December 20. So on December 20, everyone arrived at Marian Keyes' house and waited for the end. But at midnight, neither the world ended nor did the spaceship arrive. Clearly, the doomsday prophecy failed. So what's next for Marian Keyes and her believers? How do you think they reacted next? Let's get back to it in a bit, and if you stay till the end, you might even know why your friends and families don't see their mistakes when it's so clear to you. During the Korean War, many American soldiers were captured and imprisoned by the Chinese soldiers. And when the war was over, imprisoned Americans returned back to America. American psychologists found that the large number of returning soldiers were indoctrinated and the views and beliefs of the war had shifted. Many of them believed Chinese fake story. The United States had started a germ warfare, or America was the main reason for starting the war. Many soldiers praised Chinese communists and how communism is a good thing for China. And this indoctrination was very unusual among returning soldiers of World War I and World War II. But this time, how did the Chinese brainwash their prisoners? Out of many tactics Chinese used on their American prisoners, one was called start small and build on. During their captivity, the Chinese soldiers used to frequently ask their American prisoners to make a statement just slightly anti-American or pro-communist. Statements like, the United States is not perfect. As you can see, they weren't very significant statements, but what followed after that statement made all the difference. As soon as these small statements were made, the Chinese soldiers asked the American prisoners why they thought America isn't perfect. Can they list some of the ways or give some evidence to support and justify their written statement? And once the soldiers gave the justification to support their statement, they were asked to sign their name to it. And later they were asked to read the list in a discussion group with other prisoners. There also used to be political essay contest in the camp. And usually, the winning essay was the one that took a pro-communist stand. Prisoner would assume, I'm just writing a pro-communist essay just to win the contest. But this small concession paved the pathway for the bigger shift in their worldview. And you might be thinking, this small concession made by American soldiers cannot completely influence their view about America. But the theory of cognitive consistency tells a different story. Consider this experiment conducted by Friedman and Fraser on two groups of subjects. The first group of subjects were requested to display a very small sticker of "drive carefully" in the window of their house or car, while the second group of subjects weren't asked to display any stickers. As you can see, this is a very small request. Then after a few days, Friedman and Fraser made another request to both groups. But unlike the first request, this time the request was huge. Both groups were requested to display a huge and ugly billboard in their yard with the same message, "drive carefully." And this ugly billboard blocked the entire view of the beautiful house. No one wants a big and ugly billboard in front of the house, right? Well, a massive 76% of the first group, in comparison to only 17% of the second group, agreed to display the ugly billboard in front of the house. Remember the only difference between two groups. A few days earlier, Group A was requested with a small sticker, while Group B wasn't. The reason why the large number of first group agreed to the second request is what the psychologist calls the principle of consistency. Humans have a very strong desire to act consistently with their past behavior, because if we fail to be consistent, we'll look like a two-faced, hypocrite and indecisive person. And no one likes to be known as dishonest and hypocrite, except politicians. When the American soldiers made the statement, "America isn't perfect," their future action and behavior needed to be consistent with what they have already said. Also, people have seen them taking the stand earlier, and this creates a social pressure which will compel them to respond in line with their earlier decisions. And since we care so much about our social status, we adjust our image according to how others perceive us. I've heard many times, actions speak louder than words. A person is never what they say, but what they do. We're told, if you want to know who a person is, look closely at their actions. The Chinese knew that people use the same tactic to decide who they are. We look at our actions and behavior to know and understand ourselves. Atomic Habits by James Clear is one of the best books I've read on habit, and here's one quote from the book I want to share with you. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. But what happens when our actions contradicts our beliefs and attitude? Let's say a smoker believes smoking is bad for her health, but yet she is still smoking. Her action or behavior, smoking, is inconsistent with her belief smoking is bad for her health. Psychologists call this state of our smoker friend as cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance takes place when you aren't cognitively consistent, that is, when your actions and behavior contradicts with your beliefs and attitude. Cognitive dissonance is a very unpleasant state. You can think of mental discomfort from cognitive dissonance as a physical discomfort when you are extremely hungry. And what do you do when you're hungry? You try to eliminate the hunger, right? Similarly, when you are in a state of cognitive dissonance, you try to reduce or eliminate it as soon as possible. And there's 3 ways to reduce or eliminate the cognitive dissonance and get back to the state of cognitive consistency. Number 1, change your belief and attitude. Change your belief that smoking is bad for health. Number 2, change your behavior. Stop smoking. Number 3, reframe the evidence. Twist every evidence that you say smoking is bad for health. For example, smoking isn't dangerous because my grandparents smoked their entire life and lived into their 90s, or smoking isn't necessarily bad as it reduces my stress, and so on. People usually try step 2 to get back to the state of cognitive consistency. However, if they fail to change their behavior, they'll resort to technique 1 and 3. And don't you worry, propagandists and conspiracy theorists will be more than happy to provide you alternative facts to form new belief or reframe the evidence. That's exactly how the tobacco industry kept people smoking and profit rising. In 1952, Reader's Digest published an article, Cancer by the Carton. The article presented the growing evidence of a link between cigarette smoking and lung cancer. After the publication of the article, there was a huge decline in the cigarette sales. This decline was after the 19 consecutive quarters of record sales. As documented in the books Merchants of Doubt, the tobacco industry panicked at the decline in sales. Immediately, the major US tobacco companies banded together and developed the tobacco strategy. As it was impossible to prove smoking was safe, the purpose of tobacco strategy was to create doubt in public's mind about the research. They didn't want the public to change their smoking behavior. Instead, they wanted the public to try technique 1 and 3 and reduce the cognitive dissonance. So they started attacking the researcher, and they used every trickery to discredit the researchers. In addition to that, they cherry-picked the data and took advantage of unexplained or anomalous results of the study. Like why some smokers get lung cancer and others do not. I've been smoking for 50 years and why I haven't got a cancer? If smoking causes lung cancer, and then why aren't cancers of the lips, tongue or throat on the rise, and so on. The mouthpiece of the tobacco industry kept asking these trivial questions. They already knew the answers, but not the public. Also, industry doubt-mongering worked because most people don't really understand scientific jargon and its method of study. Modern propaganda works the same way. In 2016 US election, when Russia started the disinformation campaign and it spread misinformation on the internet, the purpose wasn't to convince every American of Russian lies and misinformation. The point was to flood the internet with so much information that people will start doubting even the credible news from the reliable source. The point of modern propaganda isn't only to misinform or push an agenda, it is to exhaust your critical thinking to annihilate truth. So what helps humans change their beliefs or reframe the evidence so as to reduce their cognitive dissonance? The answer: confirmation bias, the mother of all bias. Confirmation bias refers to our tendency to look for or favor information or evidence that supports or confirms our pre-existing beliefs while simultaneously rejecting or ignoring any conflicting evidence. Consider this experiment by Diane Kuhn. She showed a set of 8 index cards to her subjects, children and adults. Each card had a cartoon image of a child eating chocolate or carrot cake and what happened to the child afterward. The child is either smiling or frowning and looking sick. Like most people, the subjects, children as well as adults, had a hunch that a chocolate cake too sugary is more likely to cause sickness than a carrot cake. And to support this hunch or theory, the subject pointed out the cards that showed children getting sick after eating chocolate cake. But the problem was, out of 8 cards, only 1 or 2 cards showed 6 chocolate cake eaters. They saw and used 1 or 2 evidence to support their theory, while ignoring the large number of cards, 6 or 7, that incriminated carrot cake. Diane Kuhn concluded, people seem to say to themselves, here is some of the evidence I can point to as supporting my theory, and therefore my theory is right. When the doomsday prophecy failed, what was going on Marian Keyes and her followers' mind? Did they see the prophecy fail as a disconfirming evidence to their faith or belief? No, they didn't. When the spaceship didn't show up at midnight, the faithful follower still stayed at Marian's house. And at around 4:45 a.m., finally, Marian Keyes received a message from above. The message read, "The little group sitting alone all night long had spread so much light that God had saved the world from destruction. The world has been spared because of the strong faith of a handful of our followers. They saved the world." She and her followers were so convinced of this miracle that everyone started telephoning newspaper, radio station, and national magazines to spread the news how their strong faith had saved the world. The evidence was clear, prophecy failed. We see this evidence and interpret as the disconfirmation of their theory or belief. However, Marian Keyes and her followers saw this disconfirmation differently. They reframed their evidence and became even more convinced and entrenched in their faith, because that was the most likely the only way to reduce the cognitive dissonance, deny and reframe the truth or reality. Years ago, when I read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, the story of Al Capone twisting reality remained with me. Al Capone was considered as America's most notorious public enemy, the most sinister gang leader. But he didn't see himself as the world perceived him. He once said, "I've spent the best years of my life giving people the lighter pleasures, helping them have a good time, and all I got is abuse, the existence of a haunted man." Al Capone never condemned himself. He actually regarded himself as a public benefactor, an unappreciated and misunderstood hero. We humans rationalize everything. Most of us use fallacious reasoning to justify our acts even to ourselves. As Richard Feynman wrote, the first principle is not to fool yourself, and you are the most easiest person to fool. You might assume people who are after conspiracy theory are ignorant or stupid, but that's not the case. In fact, they have a way more knowledge on the matter to support their conspiracy theory than non-believers. They think, only if you know what I know, then you would see what I see. Consider the findings of David Perkins. He conducted an experiment on people of various ages and education levels. In his experiment, he asked his subjects to think about many social issues and write down their initial judgment. For instance, what they thought of giving schools more money. Will more money improve the quality of education? Then the subjects were asked to write down all the supporting and opposing points on the issue. Not surprisingly, people came up with many more my-side arguments that supported their belief than other-side arguments. Also, higher the IQ and education level, more the number of my-side arguments. IQ was by far the biggest predictor of how well people argued, but people with higher IQ were only good at finding my-side arguments. David Perkins concluded people invest their IQ in buttressing their own case rather than exploring the entire issue more fully and even-handedly. As we gather more information to support our own view, we become more dogmatic. And more you have invested your time, money and effort into certain opinion or some pursuit, the harder it becomes to leave. As people continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of our previously invested resources, time, money or effort, then they are committing sunk cost fallacy. And in this state, they won't give up or leave even if it's making them unhappy and miserable. Sunk cost fallacy is everywhere. Your friend has been in a relationship for a long time. Even though she's not happy in the relationship, she doesn't leave. You might have an entrepreneur friend who have lost many years and huge sums of money in his failing business, but he doesn't give up. That time, money or effort cannot be recovered. It's gone. The cost or investment is already sunk. And one of the reasons why people don't leave their miserable state is that they think it will make them look stupid. They think people will think of them as a failure, and quitting also suggests admitting they were wrong. Many of Marian Keyes' followers had quit their jobs or left their studies. Some had gave away their personal belongings. Most had fought and cut ties with friends and families. Several of the members were threatened by neighbors or family with legal actions to have them declared insane. The group members had gone too far. The investment of time, money and effort were already sunk. Having invested too much for their beliefs, the economic cost, the mockery would be too great to tolerate. So in a way, they had no other options than to be even more dogmatic in their faith. So now you know why your friends and family don't see their mistakes when it's so clear to you. I want to end this video by shortly talking about the black swan from the previous video. If you have seen it, then you know that before the 18th century, people had only seen white swans. So everyone believed all swans are white. To really test this theory, all swans are white, another billion white swans won't make the theory stronger. Instead, what you need to do is try to disprove this theory by searching for just one swan that isn't white. That's the approach of scientific community. A theory becomes strong, sound and valid not because you have thousands of confirming evidence, but rather by searching as much as disconfirming evidence. As Albert Einstein once said, no amount of experimentation can prove me right. A single experiment can prove me wrong. Thank you so much for staying till the end. See you in the next one.